So UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia just took place today, and in that main event, Robert Whittaker got a huge knockout win over the up-and-coming contender Ikram Aliskerov. Flatline KO'd him in round 1 in under 2 minutes. Very impressive win for Robert Whittaker. But we have a problem in the middleweight division. You see, Robert Whittaker is coming off back-to-back wins after his loss to the current champion, Dricus du Plessis. He's coming off a win over Paulo Costa and the win that he just got today over Ikram Aliskerov. He arguably deserves a title shot. However, there is another man in the division who just lost his belt. Sean Strickland lost his belt to Dricus du Plessis in a very close split decision loss. Since then, he also beat Paulo Costa in a split decision win that should not have been a split decision. He clearly won that fight 50-45. So you can say, Sean Strickland, he barely lost to Dricus du Plessis and he got a win. He deserves a title shot. But the problem is, the title shot isn't going to Sean Strickland, and the title shot isn't going to Robert Whittaker. The title shot is going to Israel Adesanya, a man who did not defend his belt a single time when he lost it to Sean Strickland. He lost his belt to Alex Pereira at UFC 281 by 5th round TKO. Then he won his belt back at UFC 287 with a brutal finish over Alex Pereira. Then he immediately lost his belt again to Sean Strickland in a dominant 50-45 loss. He did not defend the belt a single time after he captured it for the second time. And now he is confirmed to be getting the next middleweight title shot against Dricus du Plessis at UFC 305 in Perth, Australia. And this is a big, big problem. Because when you look at the rankings, you have Dricus du Plessis, the current champion. He is going to be fighting Israel Adesanya in August. You can already say that Sean Strickland is next in line for the title shot. He barely lost to Dricus du Plessis, and he beat Paulo Costa. He should be waiting for his title shot. So let's say Dricus du Plessis and Adesanya, they go to war, a 5-round war, and it's going to be another 6, 7, 8 months maybe before they fight again. So we're talking mid-2025 potentially until that belt is back on the line for Sean Strickland. Now, what does Robert Whittaker do? Because if Sean Strickland is going to be waiting until potentially the middle of 2025 for his title shot, is Robert Whittaker going to sit out for a year for his title shot that he has earned? He's got 2 victories since his loss to Dricus du Plessis. Sean Strickland only has 1 victory since then. I know his fight was closer with Dricus, but they both deserve a title shot. Now, are you going to make Sean Strickland fight Robert Whittaker when he has already earned his rematch against Dricus du Plessis? People argue that Sean Strickland should have beat Dricus du Plessis. Why should he have to fight not only Paulo Costa, but then Robert Whittaker as well? It's just we have a logjam here because Israel Adesanya is getting the most undeserved title shot potentially in UFC history. Just think, if this fight wasn't booked, let's just say they booked Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis for UFC 305 instead, then Whittaker would just be waiting until mid-2025 potentially, and you can make Adesanya fight, I don't know, Nasruddin Imavov or Hamzat Chimaev, someone like that. Fight a contender. Why is he getting a title shot? He's holding up the entire division, and you're potentially going to make Sean Strickland fight again when he really doesn't need to, but they might not have a choice. They might have to make Sean Strickland versus Robert Whittaker, and it sucks because Sean Strickland really doesn't need to fight again. He had the razor close loss, and he's won since then. Now, if he got knocked out by Dricus, I would say, okay, it makes sense, but he arguably beat Dricus du Plessis, and he's going to fight twice before getting his rematch? Just imagine, this would be even worse if Imavov did not beat Jared Cannonier. If that fight kept going and wasn't stopped early and Jared Cannonier went on to win that fight, just imagine the logjam you would be looking at. I mean, Sean Strickland, Robert Whittaker, and Jared Cannonier would all be deserving title challengers. So the early stoppage over Jared Cannonier from Nasruddin Imavov saved the UFC from potentially an even bigger logjam than they already have, because Jared Cannonier would arguably be more deserving of a title shot than Robert Whittaker. I mean, just look at Jared Cannonier. If he had come back and beat Nasruddin Imavov, he would have beaten Sean Strickland, the former champion, Marvin Vettori, and then Nasruddin Imavov. He would have been very deserving of a title shot as well. So that would mean the winner of DDP Adesanya would be fighting Sean Strickland, and that would be, I don't know, maybe early to mid 2025. And then let's say that's a war, then that's another 6, 7, 8 months. And then Robert Whittaker would fight the winner of that, October, November 2025. And then Cannonier would sit out until 2026. I mean, it's unbelievable, the logjam. You're forcing contenders who have rightfully earned a shot at the belt to sit on the sideline while Israel Adesanya steps in and gets an absolutely bogus, undeserved shot at middleweight gold. Sean Strickland has absolutely no business fighting another contender. He went to a razor-close decision, a fight that a lot of people scored for Sean Strickland. And now he's going to be forced to sit on the sideline and wait while Israel Adesanya, a guy he absolutely embarrassed, 50-45, gets a title shot over him. Robert Whittaker destroys the absolutely hyped up Dagestani prospect Ikram Alaskarov. He beats Paulo Costa, and now he's got to sit there and wait because Israel Adesanya is fighting for the belt. He's got to wait for Israel Adesanya to get his title shot, then Sean Strickland to get his title shot, and then maybe he can get his title shot. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that the UFC is going to be forced to put Sean Strickland and Robert Whittaker in a number one contender fight when both of them deserve to fight for the belt. If the UFC cared about their integrity and had any sort of morals at all, any sort of dignity left in them, they would have told Israel Adesanya to fight Khamzat Chimaev or fight Nasruddin Imavov while Sean Strickland gets his rematch and then Robert Whittaker gets his well-deserved title shot. And I understand, right? I understand DDP versus Adesanya is a big fight. It's a big draw. It's gonna sell. They have beef. It's whatever. I get why the UFC did it. But in terms of a meritocracy, it's just annoying to see a guy who is coming off a 50-45 humiliation get right back in there and fight for a title. I mean, what are we doing, It's just insane. Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis should have been booked for 305. Then Whittaker would have just beat Ikram Alaskarov, and he would be next in line after that fight. And then after Whittaker fought the winner of Strickland DDP, Israel Adesanya could then fight for the title if he got to win in the meantime over a guy like Nasruddin Imavov, over a guy like Khamzat Chimaev, Jared Cannonier, I don't know. Literally anybody other than the champion. It's just annoying, and it's holding up the entire division. These guys aren't getting any younger. Strickland's getting older. Whittaker's getting older, and it sucks that they're probably going to do Whittaker-Strickland, and I like that fight. I really do. It's an intriguing fight, but one of those guys, one of those well-deserving contenders is going to lose that fight and be out of the title picture, potentially, for the rest of their career, because Israel Adesanya is skipping the line and getting a title shot that he doesn't deserve. But yeah, I just wanted to rant about Adesanya's undeserved title shot. Just really pisses me off. You're holding up Sean Strickland, you're holding up Robert Whittaker, and it's a miracle that Cannonier lost, because you'd be holding up 3 contenders, pretty much, while Adesanya gets in there and gets a title shot after getting embarrassed in his last fight. And, I'm not some Adesanya hater. I think the Adesanya hate is insane. I think he's one of the most overhated fighters in the UFC. But this is a rightful thing to hate him for. I mean, it's he does not deserve a title shot. And I know he's one of the biggest stars in the UFC. I get it. But I feel like the deserving contenders should fight for the belt. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Do you think Adesanya is getting a privileged title shot? Or do you think Adesanya is their rightful contender? No one thinks that, but, whatever. Picks will be out Monday. Just wanted to rant real quick, and I will see you Monday.